One thing I think in Nepal, what we've done very well and good is we've recognized that Nepal is made up of diverse groups of people, ethnicity, caste groups and all. That recognition is there. And the state has also taken it up, which is very good. And almost all the development organizations also have taken it up. But still, when we go on the ground, why don't we see change,
My research has been with those people working in community forestry and community-based natural resources management. But whilst many of these practitioners are working towards social justice in their work, there's no space for them to reflect on really how do we more meaningfully engage in social justice.
Well, I think the project has been a very important one, and realising how isolated development practitioners actually are, and working very much on their own with very difficult, messy kind of situations to deal with, and often without any real support. And this project was a space that offered a support and to look more critically at those experiences.
So the project involved 20 participants from a range of organisations and sectors, and representing a diversity of gender, caste, age and seniority. We had 7 facilitators from Nepal, from India and from the UK. We ran 8 workshops over 8 months, involving presentations from facilitators. We also invited speakers in to come and speak with us. We together co-created a range of different materials, and this was all centred on individual reflections and conversations amongst us all.
I was involved and contributing really the perspective of transformative learning in terms of a range of reflective practices. How do I understand me? And how do I understand myself relating to the context in which I'm working with?
It's very much an action-orientated form of research and is collective self-reflective inquiry that researchers and participants undertake together so that they can understand and improve upon practices in which they participate and the situations in which they find themselves.
I was interested to be part of this research project because of the approach that this project had taken. This project really focused on reflecting where we are, where the Nepal natural resource sector is in terms of gender social inclusion. Challenges, of course, first and foremost was our virtual thing was a big challenge, I would say. Because it was virtual, we missed out a lot on to capture the behavioral part and all. That was difficult. But and to a larger extent, when I'm reflecting now and thinking, I think to some extent also the language, because we were doing English and Nepali.
And that kind of puts pressure on some people to then, and the wrong people to be able to speak in, or feeling like they need to speak in English, whereas it was kind of, we set it up in English, so the challenge should be on us. As Sam and I have discussed that feeling like we should be able to do this in Nepali, and what would that mean?
I think initially there was a bit of hesitancy between people to talk, and maybe that trust was not built yet. So I think it was critical that we made it into an open and comfortable space for people to talk, and through that trust then we were able to kind of reach kind of more insightful and novel kind of perspectives.
organizations see it very instrumentally. Like you do the project, the outcome, and you finish unhappy with it. And so many women or so many Dalits got benefited. That was it. Because we are always looking at the program level. People are excluded, this and that. I think it's time to look at ourselves, and then we can make change. I think to do that, at least to a small group, I think it was a huge contribution, I think. Working in teams of coming from different diverse groups is always difficult. But the whole process of reflection, how you all took all of us in, where we felt very comfortable with each other, no matter what backgrounds or what levels or what positions or what countries we came from. That very safe space, which was provided. I think that was something which I learned, and I really liked it.
Personally, I never had a chance to self-reflect in my life before, but through this workshop, I get space and time to critically self-reflect on my past life. Thanks to all the moderators and the facilitators. The whole episodes were very simple, quite easy to understand, and you don't feel pressure in sharing your thoughts, views, or whatever you think is shareable with others.
I mostly admired the self-reflection the most, because it led me to critically think about my professional journey and adapt the lens of power and injustice in the society and in their learning process. And keeping myself open to the self-reflection will lead to a transformative learning process and to a transformation itself.
After the workshop, I started reflecting on own assumptions and biases that I unknowingly make while negotiating roles and identities in our everyday life. I also learned that looking back to our own stories and experiences is an important way of generating critical reflection and dialogues.
I have learned new insights from the perspective of the power cube to understanding about the dynamics of powers that exist in a society from our own positions and rights that we hold. It also inspired to internalize the context before reaching to any conclusions or decisions in our academic as well as everyday life.
I learned about the gender and social inclusion status of local level and national level and international level from you and Divya ma'am and Gail, as well as we learned about our group also, our colleagues who were the participants of this workshop.
Yeah, I think it's a best idea just to conduct such types of workshops, such types of sensitization works time and again, so that we can share each other's stories to one another and just to energize ourselves and others as well.
And after sharing my opinion, views with them, I came to know that my experience, my struggle might be less than other, and other also might have felt the same. So we should not feel low self-esteem. This is the learning from my side during this program.
I found all process and knowledge very important for me, but I have marked 3 things as a valuable things for me, and the first one is comfort space for expressing feeling, personal and professional experiences, and that made me uncomfort in the past, and analyzing it from the gender lens and the social justice. Especially that messiness diagram, that has been really useful for me. Whenever I'm confused or stuck with something, I just remembered that diagram, and I stop by to reflect on whatever I've been doing, and then when I come back later, it just gives me more clarity in the whole process or where I was confused earlier. So that has been really helpful for me.
To promote this reflective learning, we can start sharing our learnings and experiences with the colleagues at our own institutions by creating a space to share learning and challenges about the transformative learning.
I also have an opinion that networking among the like-minded people will be an added benefit in the future, because we will have a stronger voice. We need a stronger voice, and we need to talk more about gender and talk with more people about gender, for the gender equality and for the justice just in the world.
working on gender, social inclusion issues is very much challenging in the sense that the issue is around the power, power relation, and then how do we understand power? How do we understand power relationship? What are the mechanism and method to challenge the unequal power relationship?
This approach to reflective learning has a lot of overlap with our approach, say, the way I work in terms of a feminist approach to reflective practice for transformation. For instance, making power visible, questioning received wisdom, challenging learned ways of looking at the situation, making connections between personal experience and the larger system, and understanding patriarchy not as something that works by itself, but something that is embedded in a system constructed out of classism, casteism, racism, and so many other hierarchies. So to keep on bringing the group back into a much more complex and layered space than merely looking at it in terms of gender opens out.
This is a political act to reclaim a humanized space within development, and how so much development takes place in a technical manner, in a very reductive manner. And we need to create that space and reclaim that space for people.
As on a very personal note, just the motivation and the hope that was expressed, which is super important for people working for many years in a profession where they're seeing and being part of injustices. They're maybe not so happy with the development structures they're part of either. So to remain hopeful is an active choice, and it is something that I think can be built through these reflective processes with others.
No words to explain. It was like, as I said, it was very timely for me. I think, I'm a consultant and I do work, and I'm just doing similar kind of thing, and I'm drawing so much from the steps we did, how we did, and so it's also been very helpful, not only conceptually but also to do in my work, and of course as a person it has changed a lot also.
And it really is going back to the main driver in terms of the theory and practice of transformative learning. When Jacques Messereau talks about transformative learning is not necessarily something that we've learned to do, but it's something that we need to support each other, practitioners, in learning in this way. So I think it's to see what we've started in this project. I mean, it's actually only a very beginning, and it's a big question is how to support each other, and particularly the practitioners in Nepal.
That probably shows the strength of this project, and something that was able to excite us that new possibilities are out there, and we don't have to just accept the status quo of business as usual approaches of gender equality and social inclusion in the workplace, and that there are kind of future alternative visions of how these can be articulated in institutions. And I think, that's kind of how I feel overall. It's like the beginning of a story, the beginning of a very messy journey.